Okay, so we better begin the class. We'll begin in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. So, welcome once again. We are the third section, part 3. That is entitled, its title is the Fire Sermon. Fire Sermon. I mentioned the Fire Sermon is the famous sermon of Buddha, like the Sermon on the Mount from Jesus. Buddha's very famous teaching is Fire Sermon. We were somewhere around 220. Yeah, 215, 20, around that. So here begins another narration of an incident again. And as I already mentioned, Tiresias is mentioned a couple of times here. So perhaps the first time mentioning of Tiresias happens in this part of the book. Until now, the narrator has not been named. So it is we'll have to, we have been talking about the narrator before. So I repeat that from that section. At the Violet Tower. At the Violet Tower. I mentioned it is the evening time. Violet Tower. Around 2:20. At the Violet Tower, when the eyes and back turn upward from the desk, I'm showing, as if you're straightening your back after a heavy day, evening. So the eyes and back turn upward from the desk. When human engine waits like a taxi, throbbing, waiting. Old kind of a car. It is a taxi engine, like a cyclical sound of the engine waiting. So throbbing, waiting. So you want something. You're so tired. You're looking forward to something. Then I, Tiresias, though blind. I already mentioned the story, how he became blind. Cursed by Juno. So the goddess, the god and goddess, their conversation, their argument, and how Tiresias took the side of the chief god, and the goddess was upset. So she cursed him. Tiresias became blind. But then, in compensation, the chief of gods, he gave him the capacity, the gift to see future, to know future, or prophetic powers. So, though blind, throbbing between two lives, we already mentioned Tiresias, how once he cursed, or rather tried to separate mating snakes, and the snakes cursed him and he became a woman. After 7 years, He repeated it. And then he was again cursed. So he became a man again. So for 7 years he's been living a woman. So throbbing between two lives. That means he's a man and a woman, past and present. He's vacillating. So he knows everything. By Tiresias, old man with wrinkled female breasts. So he's a man, physically, man and a woman also, with the wrinkled female breasts, indicating his feminine character also. So I, Tiresias, he says, can see at the violet hour, that evening hour, the violet hour, that evening hour, that strives homeward. When it's evening, everyone moves home, strives homeward, and brings the sailor home from sea, the typist home at tea time. So there are, often different references. There's a coming homeward. So here, one could be like T.S. Eliot mentions one poet, Sapio's lines, and it says, the thing by Sapio on Sappho. Sappho's line is about he's a Greek poetess of 7th century BC. So these are the lines. Hesperus, you bring home all the bright dawn disperse. Bring home the sleep, bring home the goat, bring the child home to its mother. So, 5th century BC, bringing home every evening. Hesperus is the evening star, and with the evening star rising, all are returning home. The sheep return home, children return home, all are returning home. Or he also maybe he's also referring Stevenson, R.L. Stevenson's poem Requiem on death, Requiem. Here he lies, very long to be. Home is the sailor, home from sea, and the hunter home from the hill. So Requiem. Cemetery is finally. Cemetery is the place where all are at home. Now, anyway, here the poet mentions that all are coming home. The sailor comes home, but sailor is not the focus here. Here it is the typist. You're going to see the typist now. So, at the violet hour, he's repeating that violet hour, evening time. At the violet hour, the evening hour that strives homeward. We all feel like coming home, evening time. And brings the sailor home from sea, the typist home at tea time. Clears the breakfast. Now, from now on, you're going to see the life of this girl, the typist. How quickly it becomes real now. Clears her breakfast. That means now it's evening time. So her breakfast leftovers are not yet clear. So you can know the kind of life she is leading from the clears her breakfast. Lights her stove. So now she's going to cook her evening food. And lays out food in tins. So she's also, she's going to cook only tins. Heating up already canned food and going to eat it. So she's having a very, comfortable, limited, artificial life. Out of the window, perilously spread, her drying combinations touched by the sun's last rays. Maybe morning, she washed their clothes, and they are all hanging around near the window. So everything is hanging there. So see the description. Look at the lifestyle, the modern lifestyle of a young woman. So does she have a home? In a way, yes. So his out of the window, perilously spread, precariously spread, her drying combinations touched by sun's last rays. On the divan are piled at night her bed. So she has a divan, this makeshift bed, a divan. So on the divan are piled at night her bed, stockings, slippers, camisoles, and stays. So all undergarments are piled up there. So we get an idea of this. We don't know her name, but at least we know her as the typist. So she's called the typist here. So there is a description of her house. I, Tiresias, old man with wrinkled dugs. Already, Tiresias described himself, old man with wrinkled breasts, wrinkled dugs. So, perceived the scene. Tiresias is observing everything. He is seeing everything. Like films, we have the camera scanning. The camera scanned this room. Tiresias, I perceived the scene and foretold the rest. You don't need any prophetic powers to sometimes foretell where these people are heading. You just look at their life, or look at their rooms, where they are heading. So, perceived the scene and foretold the rest. I too awaited the expected guest. So someone is expected. This typist is now waiting for someone. Here comes the man. The young man Carbuncular arrives. Here enters the young man Carbuncular. Here also we don't know the young man, his name. A boyfriend. We don't know even we can call a boyfriend. Maybe a casual visitor. Maybe a casual contact. A young man, Carbuncular. Carbuncular, maybe carbuncle, it's a red stone. It's a red, maybe not a precious stone, but maybe a semi-precious stone, carbuncle. So carbuncular is a like carbuncle, red. Maybe this is a red marks on faces, maybe some kind of skin problem. The red man Carbuncular arrives. Now, there's a note here. In the draft to the wasteland, 5 stanzas describe the young man Carbuncular. I think I don't know whether I mentioned this was much longer a poem. Already, this is a long poem for us, but it was a much longer poem. But in the beginning, he speaks of the master craftsman. So he actually edited the poem, cutting it down to the present size. So much is cut away. Maybe in this cutting away, maybe these lines were also cut. There is no much description here. So in the original, 5 stanzas describe the young man Carbuncular. Some of the phrases are also mentioned here. He was a youth of 21, but the age is not given, a youth of 21, then a common loiterer, a wandering person, common loiterer, a name dropper, someone, a name dropper, like a, and unambitious. He was also not quite ambitious, and unambitious, a plain man. Nothing very colorful. Those are the descriptions of young man Carbuncular. His hair was thick with greens, and he flicked the cigarette ashes onto the young lady's floor as he tilted back in his chair. So all those scenes are not described in our poem, in our version. It is all cut away, edited away. So from these things we know, he spent some time there. He spent quite a bit of time, tilting his chair. So all this shows. All this indicates the kind of character the young man Carbuncular is. So now the typist, the visitor comes. And so Tiresias is watching all this thing. Describing all this, a very graphic description of what's happening in this room of this typist. I repeat again. I, Tiresias, old man with the wrinkled dugs, perceived the scene and foretold the rest. I too awaited the expected guest. 230. I too awaited the expected guest. He, the young man Carbuncular, arrives. So now he comes. A small house agent's clerk. As we already heard in the description, he has a very small job. House agent's clerk. He's also not good looking. With one bold stare. He was also, his expressions are frozen in a way. Frozen expression. So, with one bold stare, one with the low on whom assurance sits as a silk hat on a Bradford millionaire. Bradford millionaire. So it seems Nourish, there's the businessman from the town of Bradford that became wealthy during World War I, the First World War. The wealthy traditionally wore top hats, silk hats, and these newly rich adopted the style. Sometimes when they wear these hats, traditionally rich people knew how to wear this, but this new rich, Nourish, you can see the way in which they wear the hat. From that, you know that they have these ostentatious ways, pretentious ways, but they are not really having the grace of rich people. Now here, he compares it. What is it? Assurance. He's confident. But this young man's confidence is like the top hat some of these new rich people are wearing. That is his confidence. So this man comes in. The young man Carbuncular comes in. Now, the time is now propitious. The time is now propitious, as he guesses. So the young man looks at this girl, the young woman, the typist. Now it's the best time. He's assessing the time. The time is now propitious, as he guesses. The meal is ended, and she is bored and tired. So now this girl, she has nothing to do. This is what Tiresias said earlier. Looking at the scene, looking at the room, you know what will happen. as they say, lazy man's mind is. The famous saying, lazy man's mind is devil's shop.
Devil's den.
Yeah, devil's workshop, they say. So her house is, even the morning breakfast is not clear. Then the dress is piled up here and there. So easily you can fall for these things because you are bored, nothing to do. It is that way. The time is propitious. He guesses. The meal is ended. She is bored and tired. Endeavors to engage in caresses. Somehow he tries to express a little loving gestures, caresses. So a little loving touch. Endeavors. He tries. So he's now testing the girl whether there is any protest before going deep into deeper waters. Endeavors to engage her in caresses, which is still unreproved, if undesired. It's unreproved. At least she's not protesting. He's not bothered if he wants anything, because that is his assurance. He's a newfound assurance the young man has. So his caresses, his touch is still unreproved, if undesired. Maybe she doesn't like or not, but he's not bothered. Exploring hands encounter no defense. He continues. Anyway, she's not protesting. She's not defending herself. Exploring hands encounter no defense. All this shows that they are not deep lovers or anything. He comes in for a casual contact, a casual date. She does not know him much, but then she's not bothered. He's also not bothered about anything else. So it's so casual a relationship which goes into deeply physical now. Flushed and decided, he assaults her. Suddenly, he decides and gets into the business of a physical union. So, exploring hands encounter no defense. His vanity requires no response. Even he's not. He doesn't. His vanity, his little pride or pretension, it does not require any response. He's not even bothered about whether the girl is interested, whether she's interested in a sexual relationship. He's not bothered about that, and makes a welcome of indifference. She's least bothered. At least this is what he wants. This is enough for him. So, and makes a welcome of indifference. And I, Tiresias, foresuffered all, enacted on this same divan or there. Only there's something sometimes in the film, the camera shows a little bit of deep contact, and suddenly the camera shifts to something else, and there things continue. Something is continuing, and here the young man carbuncular and how the woman is described, the typist. The young man carbuncular and the typist. Something is happening on the divan, divan or bed, whatever is happening, but the camera suddenly shifts to Tiresias now. Tiresias is the exclamation. His reflection. He says, I, Tiresias, have foresuffered all, enacted on this same divan or bed. Foresuffered. I have gone through all this. He has been a woman, he has been a man. He has lived in different countries, different places. So I have force suffered all in act on this same divan or bed. I who have sat by thieves below the wall. So I have sat by thieves. Do you remember last time I was mentioning the story from Thebes, the Theban legend? This is a Theban legend. Yeah.
Great tragedy.
Okay.
Oedipus Rex.
Oh, yeah, Oedipus. Oedipus. Yeah, Oedipus Rex. Oedipus Rex. So, King Oedipus is a king of Thebes. King of Thebes. Oedipus. And Oedipus's father. Then Oedipus's mother and wife, Jocasta. Oedipus's first mother, then become wife, Jocasta. They are 4 children, 2 boys and 2 girls. As I said, in all 3 tragedies, Oedipus Rex, Oedipus the king, Oedipus Colonus, and Antigone. Antigone. These are, I think I mentioned earlier that scholars think that every year at the temple of Apollo, there used to be these drama contests. So there used to be these big amphitheater in front of this temple. So on the front porch of the temple, they would act these dramas. And every year there would be these contests. And it is thought that every author has to present a package of 4 plays. 3 tragedies and a comedy. 3 tragedies and a comedy. They have to present. So this is by Aeschylus, no? Sophocles. Sophocles, yeah. So Sophocles is he too must have presented 3 tragedies and a comedy, but we don't have the comedy with us. We have only 3 tragedies. Huh?
Only tragedies, you know.
There is a famous, if you are interested in reading novels, very interesting novel to read is The Name of the Rose. The Name of the Rose by Umberto Eco. Umberto Eco. The setting is a 12th century monastery. 12th century monastery. Very interesting. There, so many killings are taking place, and a big monk is coming to investigate. So he's coming to investigate. Actually, very interesting. This is about tragedy and comedy. I mean, if somebody is going to read, I don't want to. Actually, in every monastery, there are 2 central places, most important places, and there are 2 most important people in every monastery.
Let Benny answer.
Yeah. Brother Benedict, which are the most 2 important places in a monastery?
Chapel and refectory.
I thought so. You would say that. You didn't say chapel and bar. Actually, chapel.
Yes.
Library. But library is the most protected place because there is no printing. Yeah, ancient. Most ancient books are preserved in the library. Bibles and everything is preserved. And the main thing that they do is pray and copy these ancient books. It's a very interesting novel. If you happen to read it, this Name of the Rose is a very interesting novel. I think, let me not
Spoiled.
Yeah, spoiled country. It's very interesting. But we get an idea about another picture of Francis of Assisi or things of this mendicant monks and all that. Anyway, what I'm saying is that here in all these three tragedies, I already mentioned Tiresias Achilles. All these three tragedies. Actually, in a tragedy, you are faced with the truths at one time. And like Plato, Aristotle speaks about catharsis. The catharsis. Actually, the purpose of tragedy is, you are purged, you are purified through, the deep emotions of sadness and fear, sorrow and fear. You are shocked, and through that you are purified. You go through this deep experiences, deep purification of emotions, and this happens at a moment of discovery of truths. That's it. So Tiresias is the person who confronts, he makes these characters confront with the truth. That is the place of Tiresias. He turns it, Tiresias. So here he says, I, Tiresias. No. Behind the camera, something is going on. There, things are going on. But meanwhile, we are looking at Tiresias now. Let them continue. Let the young people, let them continue. Yeah. So I, Tiresias, have forsuffered all, enacted on the same divan or bed. I who have sat by thieves below the wall. So one thing, in these Greek times, I've been there, seeing everything there, behind the walls, and walked among the lowest to the dead. This is another reference. Now I have a Tiresias. Though given extraordinarily long life, they eventually die and go to Hades. Finally, he dies and goes to Hades, the netherworld, the underworld. He goes to Hades. Unlike the other dead, he still retained full reason. So he continued even after death. He was carrying his capacity, mental capacity, his full reason. So in Homer's Odyssey, Odysseus visits the underworld and confers with Tiresias. So Odysseus also he goes and has a discussion with Tiresias. That's why here he says, I lowest to the dead. He has been there everywhere. So Tiresias has seen everything, every age. And this Tiresias is here now in the wasteland. At this time, he said, I've seen so much. Meanwhile, whatever is happening is over. Whatever is happening is over. Bestows one final patronizing kiss. Who?
The man.
The young man Carbuncular. The young man Carbuncular. The red-faced young man. The young man Carbuncular. He bestows the final patronizing kiss. Now it's not loving kiss. It is patronizing. Patronizing kiss. And gropes his way. He finally is not able to find his way. Is it because of he is now famished, spent after his this activity, or is it also because there is no light in the corridor outside the room? Maybe In either way, he gropes his way, finding the stairs unlit. Yeah, he also finds the stairs unlit. Now his matter is over. He's now, not bothered. He's going away. Now, what is important is we've seen repeatedly all the beauty of love, all the beauty of a man and woman coming together in a deep passion. All this has become so trivial, so casual, so meaningless, which adds to the meaninglessness of the life of the wasteland. So he bestows one final patronizing kiss and gropes his way, finding the stairs unlit. So that's it over. Now we have the girl. She turns and looks a moment in the glass. Suddenly, women, one of their favorite places is. Anyway, women are there only. Sonia, any comments? Mirror. One of the places most women spend more time is we have seen earlier also someone sitting in front of the mirror. You remember? Yeah. So she looks a moment in the glass, hardly aware of her departed lover. She doesn't even realize that the lover has gone. The lover, he's called the lover, hardly aware of a departed lover. Her brain allows one half-formed thought to pass. Now, her brain is not working properly, definitely. Otherwise, her life would not be like this. So her brain allows one half-formed thought to pass. Very casually. Maybe she commended a half-formed thought. Well, now that's done, and I'm glad it's over. So actually, for a human being, a sexual union is a transforming union. So God has created man and a woman to have such a very deep, consummating experience in a sexual union. But then, for her, this is so casual, so meaningless, and she is saying, oh, okay, that's over. Well, now that's done, and I'm glad it's over. It is so casual. So sexuality has become just another thing. When lovely woman stoops to follow. When lovely woman stoops to follow. These are famous lines. I've given the reference there. This is by Oliver Goldsmith. In his famous book, The Vicar of Wakefield, chapter 24. I was just briefly reading about the Wikipedia entry on The Vicar of Wakefield. The Vicar of Wakefield is one of the famous British novels. Oliver Goldsmith's famous. He's also a poet, Oliver Goldsmith. He's one of the famous. He's known very much for this book, this novel, Vicar of Wakefield. No, there was this. Only today I read this. You can also read that from Wikipedia. You just search Vicar of Wakefield in Wikipedia, and there is this background description about this novel. It is mentioned Dr. Samuel Johnson, famous. It's a famous one who wrote, so many biographies and perhaps the first dictionary and all that, famous man, Samuel Johnson. So he mentions one day he gets a message from this Goldsmith, and he's saying, "Come here immediately. You have to reach here immediately." And immediately he sends some money. Then when he reaches there, this famous author, he is getting arrested by the landlady for not paying the rent for a long time. That's right. The arrest is going to be faced. That's right. He's getting arrested. That's what he's saying. Then he sits and asks, then he starts saying, "I am here and over ready. But then now I don't have any money." So with that, and he's already with the money that he sent, he's buying a drink and he's drinking now. With that, he's drinking. That is how he's spending the time now. So he says, well, then somehow he asks him to keep down the bottle, and then he asks him, then he takes the manuscript and quickly glanced through it. Then it is this novel, Vikram Wakefield. Then he takes it immediately and gets permission from the lady and something, and goes and immediately meets a publisher. Then the publisher takes it because of his word, takes it for big money. So he immediately brings the money and gives it. This is how this novel gets published. It's a novel about a vicar, an Anglican priest, a vicar, who had a lot of money, but then somehow he gets into a problem. He has got a number of children, and he goes from a comfortable parish, and he's hired by another person. He goes to this another church, and there he with one Mr. Hornhead. He is a handsome, but a person with a lot of criminal background. That person employs him, but then this person misuses his daughter Olivia. Actually, this is a comment by, these lines are a comment about Olivia by the author. What we are, it's from that, in the notes I'm saying that when lovely woman stoops to folly, here Olivia is not able to judge. Actually, another very virtuous person saved her once and was in love with her, with Olivia. But then she ran after appearances, and thus he goes after this Hornhead, and she gets into real problems. So when lovely woman stoops to folly and finds too late that men betray, she finds too late that men betray. And what charm can soothe her melancholy? Then finally she is totally in disarray. Then what charm can soothe her melancholy? And what art can wash her guilt away? In what way her guilt can be washed? The only art her guilt to cover. There's only one solution. Perhaps these are the author's words. The only art her guilt to cover, to hide her shame from every eye, to give repentance to her lover. We have seen so many stories. Sometimes, finally, something that she does will make the lover repent. and wring his bosom is to die. What? So the only solution is she has to die. There is no escape from the disgrace, shame, and treachery. So when we listen to this one line, like T.S. Eliot, we are reminded of the words of Oliver Goldsmith. So, well, now that's done. Back to the poem. Well, now that's done, and I'm glad it's over. When lovely woman stoops to folly and paces about her room again alone. So she walks up and down, paces her room alone. She smooths her hair with automatic hand. Maybe after all that happened, not only her dress, even her hair is all in, jumbles, disarray. So she smooths her hair with automatic hand and puts a record on the gramophone. No, we don't have gramophone. Once upon a time, there used to be gramophone. You used to have gramophone records. So she now plays some music on this gramophone. She plays a record on the gramophone. Now, there is suddenly a shift, a quick shift. Yeah, things there. Now there is a shift. One shift, and then another shift. Now her music is playing, but then this music crept by me upon the waters. We are familiar with this part. Which is it again? The tempest. The tempest. The tempest. This is again just before the Ariel song. This music crept by me upon the waters. So now we have put back, kept away the incident of these, shallow lovers, and we are moving forward. This music crept by me upon the waters. Of course, the contrast here is other two lovers. This line reminds us of two lovers. Who are they? Perhaps the noblest of lovers. Some of the two most beautiful lovers in the whole of Shakespearean 37 or 39 dramas by Shakespeare, the most classical dramas. The two lovers, once again, Ferdinand and Miranda. Ferdinand and Miranda. So Ferdinand is stranded in this magic island of Prospero. And Miranda, Prospero's unblemished, innocent daughter. She has never seen any other man other than her very loving and dedicated magician father, or not just magician, scholarly. He wanted only his library with him when he was sent out of the country. He brings all the books here to this lonely island in the cave with his, a baby girl. He comes. He was sent away to drown in a leaky ship. So Miranda has never seen any other man. Only two spirits he has seen. Caliban, a half creature there, And Ariel, a beautiful spirit, Ariel. Only these people, he and she has seen. That's why when she sees Ferdinand for the first time, both of them fall in love so deep. And they are ready to, Ferdinand is ready to do anything that Prospero says. So Prospero makes him split logs, make him do real hard work. This prince, this noble prince, he's asked, but he's ready to do anything to have the hand of this angelic lady. And she is also so deeply connects to the first nobleman, young man he sees. Now, when with this line, we contrast between this flimsy love of the typist and young man Carbuncle. On the other hand, the noblest love of Ferdinand and Miranda. This music crept by me upon the waters, and along the Strand, up Queen Victoria Street. Oh city, city. Oh city, city. Suddenly, maybe we would find one cry from the Gospels. Usually they don't put this, but I certainly thought of that cry in the Gospels. What is that?
Cry of the Jesus
Yeah.
on the cross.
No.
What then?
Oh city, city. any yeah?
Jerusalem.
Oh,
Jesus Christ.
Jerusalem.
Oh, Jerusalem.
Name of another famous novel also. The French, what's his name? Lapierre. The author of Freedom at Midnight. Oh, Jerusalem. So, oh, Jerusalem, Jerusalem. Jesus, wailing for this great city, Jerusalem. In the same way, here, our narrator, who? Tiresias. Tiresias is wailing, oh city, city, what a tragedy. Oh city, city. Which is the city here?
London.
Yeah, all these are real places. Actually, this is if you walk, I think I have walked a few times here. The Strand, Queen Victoria Street. Then there is this public bar, Lower Thames Street. Then Magnus Martyr. All these places. So these are now, the music is sometimes flowing through this roads, these by lanes. Just read the following are real streets in London, in the old section of the city. Old section of the city known as the city. This old place is known as the city, actually in London, the city. So that's why he says, oh city, city also. The Strand, Queen Victoria Street, Lower Thames Street, also King William Street and Cannon Street. Magnus Martyr and Saint Mary Woolnoth are churches in the same area. So these are also churches. So he's saying this is area. So this is London. Later he says, whole wasteland. All this is happening in a city. Sometimes we see. One of the tragedies of modern times is that humanity is separated from the soil, separated from trees, birds, real life. For most people who are in touch with the real soil, I think God is so. When civilization, buildings, sophistication, bookish knowledge, what we call science, all this without knowing disconnects us with maybe the real world, the created world, and we are in a world created by us, perhaps. No wonder the city becomes a place where human heart becomes the wasteland. Sometimes it's real. So, oh city, I can sometimes hear beside a public bar in Lower Thames Street the pleasant whining of a mandolin. You know, mandolin, that string instrument, no? Mandolin. The pleasant whining, there's mournful music, the pleasant whining of a mandolin. See, suddenly that I heard, and a clatter and a chatter from within, from maybe from these restaurants, some of these public, bars. The clatter and chatter within where fishermen lounge at snow. Maybe after their fishing time in Thames, the fishermen take a break, maybe have some drink, and eat some lunch, where fishermen lounge at noon, where the walls of Magnus Martyr hold inexplicable splendor of Ionian white and gold. The inexplicable splendor. Now, there is a little reference here about Magnus Martyr. Magnus Martyr. I'll read that. It's a good read. He mentions this. He mentions that T.S. Eliot mentions this church with a particular purpose. The interior of Saint Magnus Martyr is, to my mind, is one of the finest among Wren. Wren is a famous architect. Wren's interiors. So this famous architect, he built so many beautiful, cultural monuments, and so he T.S. Eliot mentioned this these words. So interior of Magnus Martyr to me is the finest among Wren's interiors. This church. So in London's earlier years, more of the central area was residential, and there were a number of churches built for the use of the residents. So in this area there were many churches. As time went by, this area developed into a mostly commercial area now known as this city. Now this area has become city. Now when T.S. Eliot is writing this poem, this place is no more the old residential place where the city dwellers going to church, visiting, having mass and things like that. Attendance and use of churches dropped off, and some were proposed for demolition. And they're going to do away with some of these buildings. Eliot, who worked in this area when employed at Lloyd's Bank, T.S. Eliot worked for a long time in a bank. He would visit these churches. His note for line 264 may have been a way to get more people involved in saving the churches. Sometimes he wants to bring the attention to this beautiful, what is this? White and gold Ionian Greek. So the Greek architecture of white and gold, colors, very beautiful, very noble, inexplicable splendor. You cannot explain the grandeur of this Rennes architecture. Now, before I finish, maybe we can stop here, but I was just, when I'm reading this, I was reminded of famous novel. This, whenever you go to news, even today, I found the news of, I was reminded of this novel, of a novel about this famous church. The name of the novel is the church's name. Which is it? Anyone remembers? So this church has been in the news for the past couple of years in a big way. You want to bet? Huh? A famous novel's name is the name of this church. You know very well. Any idea?
It's not Notre Dame, is it?
Once again?
It's not Notre Dame, is it? Is it a English church?
Yes, you're right. Yeah. What the name of the novel is?
The Bells of? No.
No. Yeah.
Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Yeah. Right. The Hunchback of the Notre Dame. The Hunchback of the Notre Dame. Very famous novel by a famous French writer. The famous French writer. Victor Hugo. Victor Hugo. Hunchback of the Notre Dame. Now, why I mentioned here is, no, in the news, even today, it's restoration is going on. There was a fire. Was it 2 years back? There was a big fire that destroyed. Something. It's a, when you read every day, I see again and again, the news items are coming about its restoration, its greatest treasures that held it, that holds. So much is gone, but so much is there still. It was such a glorious, thing. But then, Victor Hugo says, in the introduction to The Hunchback of the Notre Dame, the story is about this hunchback, who his love story, his love for one woman, yes, his love for the church, and then all that happens in that city in 1400s. And some people sometimes say the Hunchback of the Notre Dame is not about, perhaps more than about the hunchback, perhaps it is about the building of Notre Dame Cathedral. Now, Victor Hugo writes this novel because in 19th century, 1800s, the stories, when he writes an incident or a story, he places it 400 years back. But then in the novel, the majority of it is the glory of this cathedral, the architecture. The glory of the architecture. He describes each thing, and what he wanted was, he wanted the Parisians, people of Paris, to see the beauty of architecture or the heritage. Sometimes people were forgetting heritage and in a very careless manner, they were just destroying the old things and building new things. Victor Hugo was pained by this, and he wanted to sensitize everyone about the glory of these glorious pasts. And one of the most important remnants of this past is architecture. So he wrote this novel, Purpose, and he was successful. This novel became such a hit so that there were movements, even in Victor Hugo's time, for preservation of ancient buildings and movements to preserve architecture and things like that. Here, in a very small way, T.S. Eliot is also writing at least 2 lines for churches in England. Any comments before we conclude?
I like how the city life, the real life is lost in the middle of this clutter and sound of the city life. The way the wasteland is described, and it reminded me of my personal experience when I joined the monastery, is to see how the monks over there are real people. They reminded me of, even though I have not seen my father's childhood, but I sensed that in him, that he has met people who worked with nature so closely.
Yeah.
And my father has that. He has that feature in him, which I never experienced because I grew up in a small town.
Yeah.
And with neighborhood, with sound, with TV, with this and that, and all these different things. And when I started working in metropolitan city in Chennai, or then later working in Philadelphia as well, I never had that sense of seeing reality.
Yeah.
And this is how real men are, who are in touch with reality.
Sure.
And I think the culture does something to it, and that's reminded me of, when you are mentioning the reality was missing, the touch with nature and real interaction, and that sense. Thank you.
Any other comments?
The thing about the Chicago's downtown, not downtown, in the loop.
A little loud.
The Chicago city of the city.
Yeah.
City means the loop,
Yeah.
which is only right now commercial buildings.
Yeah.
Not a single residential building is there. And there are 3 big Catholic churches, like very ancient.
Yeah.
Show that it was residential places.
Residential places before.
There are so many masses and all this, but that it's walkable distance. In 5 minutes you can walk between churches. When I spend the London in the same way, that way it becomes commercial.
Yeah. Especially most of these Catholic centers became just business centers finally. True. Any others? A few. Robert. Sonia, and who is the Zoom user?
It's probably Jason.
It's me. It's Jason.
Okay then thank you very much. We'll meet next. Let me see. Next week, I will mention if I'm taking class or not, because I'll be traveling a little bit. But I will let you know.